In this video, we're going to have a look at doing virtual book tours. Now, you've probably seen the scenes from movies years ago of a budding author going from location to location, looking around large boxes of books and, hoping to sell them in as many places as they can and to get the word out about his book. But thanks to the internet and nowadays the technology we have, you can do all this from the comfort of your own home. And at times it suits you. So you may be wondering, where would you start off a virtual book tour? The first location I'd recommend is going to blogs. Offer your services in a blog. Could you write an article maybe for the blog audience? Could you do maybe a question and answer article, or just contact the blog owner and just ask them, maybe could they do a book review, and offer all those services to the blog owner where they could just post all that content on their blog, and then a link then going to where your book could be purchased, or your website, or whatever else you wanted to promote on it. Another place you could actually go to is podcasts. Again, like the blog owners should contact the podcast and see what to offer your services, because again, like with the blogs, at the end of the day, you need them more than they need you. So you have to actually sell yourself. Why should they actually take you in a podcast? What information could you give them that their audience would like to know about? So say maybe if the podcast was budding authors, maybe you could just do a Q&A on yourself as being an author, book promotions. It all depends on what the podcast is actually based on, but you could actually just tailor your content to whatever the podcast audience would want to hear about. And then from podcast, then you could actually go to radio. Could you offer your services on a radio station, even just a small slot? Contact radio owners and see if they have any spare time in your local area. Start small first if you wanted to, just to get your word in the local area. Again, like with the podcasts and the blogs, what content could you give them? What information could you give their audience that they would like to know about? And then at the end of the interview, then is there a chance then you could actually give your website details or promote your new book and things like that. And then from a radio, then on to book trailers. Then I've covered this before now in the other cheap children's book product, but basically a book trailer is basically just you've taken content from it's like a movie trailer, except you kind of build a book trailer based on your book, and at the end of the book trailer, then there's a information at the end of it where you can actually contact either you or to go to Amazon or wherever the book is being sold, and to go there at the end of the book trailer. So I've covered more details actually in the report about that. You can actually read up more about what a book trailer is and how you can actually put one together. From there, book giveaways. Rafflecopter is a good place to go if you wanted to set up a promotion for your book. What you do is you would just go to rafflecopter.com and then try and get as many people to help you out socially, like tweeting and sending traffic to Rafflecopter. And then what happens is then you put together a prize. Maybe it could be an Amazon voucher, it could be signed books by yourself, or any kind of prize that you thought that your audience would like. So each time then a person actually goes to Rafflecopter, if they do different actions and tasks, they can actually accumulate points, and these points will actually go towards them, giving themselves a better chance of actually winning the prize. So you could set it up maybe that they would have to like your website, they could get 2 points. They could like your giveaway on Rafflecopter, maybe on a Facebook page, or share it on Twitter, and they could earn maybe 2 or 3 points. And then all these points would be accumulated then, and that would actually put them in better standing then to actually win the prize at the end of the day. So that was another option you could actually try out then, to do book giveaway, or even just Amazon vouchers and things like that to promote yourself and the release of your book. From that then you could actually do videos. Could you go to YouTube and again taking content like you would have put together for the articles, for the blogs and the podcast. Could you describe something in a video, how to promote a book, how you actually put your book together. Maybe you could do maybe a video on how you plotted your latest book, and then at the end of the video then you could have maybe a link then of where the viewers could actually go and see the finished product after they've looked behind the curtain and seeing how you've actually plotted the book together. They can actually go and buy the finished book then, just to see. What you could do, another thing then too, is like the guys over at the Self-Publishing Podcast, what they had set up like a video diary. So they had taken day by day, they had recorded maybe over the shoulder video shots of how they were progressing, how they plotted the book out, and they're writing day by day. And then again at the end of the series, then you could actually maybe do over a month's time, or depends how long it actually took you to write the book. You could do maybe a video diary of your first week, the second week, and then you could post all this content up, and then the final video then would have details of when the finished book is. As well then too, in the video you could actually maybe like DVD extras, maybe things that the author, that the readers would like to know about, or potential readers, how you came up with the story, where you got the characters from, and basically things then that people wouldn't actually know about the book, but you're actually putting them in the video for viewers to actually see. Another one then is image sites. You've probably seen the section I've done on Pinterest and on Instagram, and again taking excerpts out of your book. Could you put them onto images and post them in as many locations as you could. Again, if you haven't got the skill to do things like that, you could actually hire somebody out to promote that post or that image, and let them actually send it to as many places as you can. So at the end of the day, the more places you are in, the better, the more people you're actually going to attract to your book giveaway or your book promotion. So first of all, then, how would you actually get started on a virtual book tour? So first thing I would ask you is to get a pen and paper and write down what type of person you are. Are you the type of person who would actually, can you speak on video? Do you feel subconscious about it? Would you feel comfortable speaking on a radio show or doing a podcast? Maybe you're a little on the shy side, or maybe you would actually rather doing speaking through words. So if in that case, then if you were the shy type and weren't self-conscious, you were self-conscious about yourself, maybe the speaking to camera in the video mightn't be for you, but maybe you could do maybe an over the shoulder. You could do like a slideshow like I'm doing here and just describe what's happening on the screen. Maybe with the podcast and radio shows, maybe you might be self-conscious or maybe afraid of actually maybe freezing on the podcast, and maybe it would actually put more strain on you, and you might be afraid of actually screwing up live on a show. So maybe you might be suited better maybe to go down the route of maybe doing just the images and just doing the text, putting blog posts all over the place, and not having that extra strain on you. Again, then you want to do your homework first. You'll need to go to all the different locations and possible places so you can actually advertise your articles, like what blogs you need to contact, if you wanted to go down the route of podcasts and radio shows, which ones were the right for you. Again, like I've spoken before about in the podcast section, you have to, what I'd recommend you doing is actually listening into podcasts and listening into radio shows and just seeing are they right for you, because you need to listen to a couple of episodes to see what kind of content they deliver to their audience. Is it normally Q&A, and just kind of tailor your content for what they're looking for. So again, then reach out in social media, check out the websites, the podcasts, the blogs, and find out where all these people are hanging out and reach out to them. Post comments on their blog, post reviews for their podcasts and iTunes and wherever else it could be. Tweet, like and share posts. And basically what the reason why you'd actually do that is just to kind of get your foot in the door, so that you're not actually coming in cold calling and making yourself available for this, but by making those people aware that you actually exist, and you're just kind of warming them up before you actually come in and make your request to actually appear on their shows or write on their blog. So just kind of getting your foot in the door, as it say. And then make note of all the contact info you need. Once you've made a list of all the different podcasts, radio shows, blogs that you like to contact, make out a spreadsheet of all the different information you'll need to record, like who do you need to contact, what email addresses, the domain names, what are the URLs, because again, if you're going to be going through a load of different websites and that, you're going to lose track of who you need to contact, what was the URL and all. So what I would do is, again, I would make sure that I had a pen and paper handy and just record all the information I'd need to know. And then as well then too, like as I said about, coming to cold contacting them, it would be better then when you are actually contacting them, you can actually make reference to some of the content that they produce that you liked, so that they're not just somebody that's just mass sending 100 emails out all at one go to 100 different locations, but you actually take your time and go through contact by contact and just making them aware that, you've liked this podcast they did, that blog post they put up last week you found very helpful, and you tweeted it to your, to your audience and things like that, just to make them, to make them aware that you're not just somebody just, spamming everybody and trying to get it in all the different locations. That you are actually a person at the end of the day. And then you're probably wondering, now, what did you say in that email? Well, basically the first thing we do is just basically say who you are. From that, then, what are you looking to offer them? At the end of the day, as I said, the radio shows and the podcast, they're looking for content for the audience. So you're going to actually have to tailor your content to suit their audience, and you're going to have to self-promote yourself. Why should they actually take you? Why should they interview me rather than you? What can you bring to their audience and to the blog that's going to be worth their while actually giving you their time of day? And then explain why you're contacting them. Just say that you've got a book promotion coming out and that you'd like their help to getting word out about your book. And then if you have any giveaways or incentives that the host could give away, because anything to make yourself more attractive to the radio host or the website host, as you can. Like if you have books to give away, maybe you have a couple of Amazon vouchers that you could give to the audience. And again, you could maybe set this up then with Rafflecopter then, so everybody could be sent back to Rafflecopter and you could get all that information. To get all the information there. So just giving something that you can actually make yourself more attractive to the host. And if you have any experience, list any experience where you've been featured, like what podcasts have you been on, what websites have you written articles for. Again, if you're only starting off and you haven't got yourself in many locations, you could say, well, I'm going to be featured in the next couple of weeks. I've got a post coming up on such and such a blog, or I've got an interview on a radio show a couple of weeks from now. There's things like that. So anything that you've featured on, just make note of it then, so you can use it in future contacts. That just to show that that if I wasn't taking you on my podcast, that you wouldn't actually freeze on the show, that you've been experienced of being on podcasts, and maybe I could actually listen to your interview and see what type of person you were like, and see would you actually suit my show. So in that case, then list any experience and place you have been featured, and then give any information you recorded earlier about the possible partner. Again, like what podcast episode you liked and blog post that you found really helpful. And then at the end of it, just give details of your other pages, website, social media accounts that they can check out to find out more about you. So at the end of the day, then, unfortunately, it is a numbers game. Not everybody will have the time and will get back to you. At the end of the day, some will and some won't. So you're just going to have to keep reaching out. But it is well worth your while. Like, say maybe 10% of the people that get back to you, and you do get on the show, you do get on the blog. There's, as long as you do a good job, there's no reason why they wouldn't actually invite you back for your next book promotion, to advertise your book on their show. So I'm just going to show you some of the places you can actually go to as well. If you wanted to get on podcasts, I recommend you should head straight over to Blog Talk Radio and just do a search over there and just see all the different categories you have and all the podcasts they have available then, and you can actually contact the podcast, or just listen to some of the podcasts just to see what they're like before you actually reach out to them. Another, you can find it at blogtalkradio.com. And then for finding interviews then to get featured on podcasts or even to get featured on radio shows, what you would go to is radioguestlist.com. Now, they have all different ones. They actually have a lot of, articles and stuff like that too, which might be worth your while reading up on, when you do actually get featured on podcasts. So basically what you do is, there's always radio shows looking for experts and guests and things like that. So you can actually submit yourself and all these shows will actually contact you. So if it all seems too much for you, you're not sure how to do a virtual book tour, I'd recommend you come over to authormedia.co.uk and you can actually book a book tour with this website here. What they'll actually do is you'll set up which book tour would suit you best, Facebook and Twitter, and they actually pay you. I think you have to give something like 8 weeks notice before you actually do it, and depending on how much money you have and how much of a big virtual book tour you could do, you can actually purchase one of their packages here. So the biggest one they have here is 20 stop tour, and it's £139. You need to convert that into dollars then to find the equivalent. But if it all seemed too much for you and you weren't sure how to do, I recommend you head over to authormedia.co.uk and have a look and see what to do over there. Okay.